That same word, different, also defines our approach for our next home system. Better technology is good, but technology is not enough. So what should a new machine do? For both game creators and game players, new machine needs to do much more. They must offer an unprecedented play experience, something no other machine has delivered before. I suppose I could give you a list of our technical specs. I believe you'd like that, but I won't for a simple reason. They really don't matter. And now you say, you want a revolution. Well, we've got one. Clearly, Revolution is by far the smallest console we've ever manufactured.
Man, that was pretty sick. How he just pulled the Wii out from his pocket like it was nothing. See, everything leading up to the console was about power. Who could have the most powerful console? For example, Super Nintendo versus Sega Genesis, Nintendo 64 versus PlayStation, Xbox versus PlayStation 2 versus GameCube. Everyone just wanted to have the most powerful console on the market. But for the 7th generation of gaming, Nintendo wanted to focus on something different. They wanted to focus more so on the experiences the hardware can bring rather than just the raw power of it itself. So with this change in focus, they needed to bring a game to show what the new console was all about. Each console usually comes with a launch title just to demonstrate what it can bring to the table. For example, NES and Super NES had Mario, which set the precedent for 2D platformers. Nintendo 64 had Super Mario 64, which emphasized the jump into 3D adventures. And GameCube had Luigi's Mansion, which was designed to show off the lighting and 3D model capability. So what was the Wii gonna have? Enter Wii Sports. This game was released in 2006 as a pack-in with the Wii, and was a collection of 5 sports minigames designed to make use of the Wii Remote's unique functionalities. These sports being baseball, tennis, bowling, golf, and boxing. Nintendo realized they had to bring out a game to show the new capabilities of the Wii Remote and also the shift in audience. But I mean, the other launch titles just weren't gonna cut it. Like, you got Twilight Princess, which was a phenomenal game, but let's admit that the Wii controls were kind of tacked on. And The Last Airbender, I guess? Yeah. So Nintendo decided to take this task into their own hands. In order to get a point across of the Wii, they needed to hit 2 main points, something with mass appeal and something that was easy to understand. And this is where I think the true genius of Wii Sports lies. I mean, everyone's played a sport or at least heard of one. I think that by going with the sports theme, I definitely think Nintendo hit those 2 main points. And even if you haven't heard of these sports, well, they pretty much have straightforward objectives. Oh, I have a stick that I can swing? Well, I better hit that ball that guy's throwing at me. I have this big ball in my hand? Better knock those pins down over there. Oh, this guy wants to square up? Alright, let me knock him into next week then. Now, this idea of sports game in and of itself isn't novel. There have been plenty of different sports games in the past, many coming from Nintendo themselves. But these games rely on button inputs that, sure, little precious Rainchild may understand, but, you know, once Grandma comes around, it'll be a miracle if she can sink a ball in that hole. Yeah, that's another great thing about Wii Sports. Pretty much anyone can pick up and play. The controls are really intuitive, and that's all thanks to the Wii Remote. The game was designed pretty much around this controller, and it was to show off all the unique capabilities of it. With that being said, let's get into it. For many years previous, gaming and technology companies have been trying to create more and more seamless interactions between the game and the player. It's just supposed to be you and the game, nothing else, no distractions. This kind of explains the fascination with virtual reality and simulations in the 80s and 90s. For the most part, they didn't really work out too well. They were a little bit too primitive, but Nintendo was taking different steps, but towards the same ideals. They were trying to get across the message that you are the controller. The idea of motion controls being the main method of controls was pretty new for the time. So thankfully with each sport you can pick up the controller and easily understand how your motions with the Wii Remote will affect your character in the game. This comes with the help of some visual cues. For example, in baseball, you can kind of swing your bat around, which, by the way, completely amazed me as a kid. In tennis, you can swing the remote around to see your character swing their racket on the menu. And so on and so forth, you get the idea. So 4 out of 5 of these games just use a single Wii remote. I think in boxing you can just play without the nunchuck if you really don't have one. But without the analog stick, Nintendo decided to make all the movement automatic, just to simplify controls for old grandma. Because the movement is so intuitive and the controls just kind of come naturally, it kind of immerses you further in the gameplay experience. And actually, some of the controls are surprisingly detailed. For example, you can control what kind of punch you do in boxing, head blow, body blow, hook, uppercut. Bowling lets you curve your throws by adjusting your wrist when you throw. Tennis and baseball don't have as detailed controls in how you swing, but rather the timing of your swing. Swinging late will make the ball go to the right, while swinging early will make the ball go to the left. So you have to kind of find the right timing in order to send it straight down the middle, if that's what you want. So while the general controls are simple and easy to understand, I think it goes way beyond just doing this. The complexity allows people to keep coming back and improve each time they play. Having speakers on the Wii Remote is meant to enhance the experience of whatever game you're playing, but I think Wii Sports did it perfectly. Sure, the speaker might not be the best quality, but it is a nice touch. Every action you did in the game, it kind of made a sound, so it created like a sort of positive feedback in the game. The Wii Remote also had vibrations, but that was nothing new. I mean, the N64 had the rumble pack you can attach, and the GameCube had rumble built into it, so it was kind of expected for the Wii Remote to have rumble. But with that being said, these two features actually help create a more immersive experience when playing Wii Sports. Nintendo really nailed the idea of simplicity in this game, so much so that even the menus are simple. You can navigate them using the D-pad and A to select, or you can point and click, kind of like a computer. This is all thanks to the Wii's sensor bar. And fun fact, the name's actually a little bit misleading. When I was a kid, I used to think that the sensor bar was picking up the information that the Wii Remote was giving out. But it's actually the opposite. The sensor bar is giving off infrared signals that the Wii Remote's picking up with the IR sensor. It used the information to determine where the user was pointing though. This also explains why the old light bulb / candle trick works for whenever you didn't have your sensor bar. Anyway, the user interface was heavily influenced by these point and click controls. Each option was kind of like a big button that you select, and I think that was a really good idea because just imagine trying to select a really tiny option with the Wii Remote. Like, that's going to be so hard to do. The menus are also well designed. Right when you start up the game, you have the 5 main games staring right at you. They occupy a good amount of the screen real estate because they're the meat of the game. On the side is a picture of the sport you have selected in case you're unfamiliar with the sport. In the bottom right are the 2 side modes, which give you an idea that they're just extras. And getting started is really easy. All you have to do is select your sport, pick the number of players, pick your character, and if you happen to be left-handed, you can change the options, and you just jump right into the game. Boxing is the only sport in this game that's compatible with the Wii Remote peripheral, this being the nunchuck. See, it works by plugging it into this little slot at the bottom. And it kind of stretched the idea of what a Wii Remote was. It was kind of like taking a controller and splitting it in half. Also, was I the only person who had friends who said that the Wii was never truly wireless because it had this wire connecting the nunchuck and the Wii Remote? Anyway, in the case of boxing, the nunchuck also uses motion controls to detect where your hand is and when you throw a punch. Sure, the nunchuck isn't as refined as the Wii Remote, but it got the job done, especially for boxing. This little port at the bottom always got me excited as a kid, because I always imagined you can make any sort of peripheral with the Wii Remote and just plug it in here at the bottom. But as far as I know, I think it only works with a nunchuck, the classic controller, and the Wii Motion Plus that was added later on. Oh, and Guitar Hero. Oh well. I think one of the most memorable parts about Wii Sports is definitely the Mii characters. Yeah, there's something really charming about having Jesus Christ, SpongeBob, and Little Johnny from across the street all on the same baseball team. Now, the idea of creating and playing as your own character avatar wasn't unique for the time, But I think Mii's are unique in that they're console-wide avatars. Overall, I think their design is pretty simplistic, but the overall customization is pretty deep. You can make them look like all sorts of celebrities or historical figures or whatever, and people might recognize them right away. But overall, the Mii's have a simple and very recognizable shape. Apart from the Mii's, the graphics themselves aren't exactly the best. I mean, Twilight Princess came out the same year on the Wii and GameCube, and it looks better than Wii Sports, but to be fair, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, you can still tell what you're looking at. As mentioned before, the Wii isn't supposed to be some sort of powerhouse console. It's supposed to be more about the experience. But I think making Mii's is pretty fun, so I think they succeeded in that aspect. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the sound design in this game. The music overall is very fun and catchy. I mean, who can forget that main theme? It's all sort of futuristic, almost as if it's telling you, welcome to a new experience. It's very on brand with the Wii. I think they use a lot of sort of like synthy instruments overall in the Wii console. Pretty much all the music in this game is really easy to jam to, which overall adds to the fun and lighthearted nature. I think music in video games is important in setting the tone, and it was pretty important for Nintendo to not lean too heavily on one genre, because then, you'll kind of ostracize the other one while only appealing to a certain subset of people. But I think they really hit the nail on the head with the Wii Sports soundtrack. I mean, they made songs that everyone can enjoy, and even nowadays, it's still kind of an icon in meme culture. So apart from the main game, Nintendo decided to include minigames in order to train your Wii Sports skills. Each sport has 3 of them, focusing on a specific fundamental. Like boxing has a minigame where you focus on your combos. It has you basically punching the life out of punching bags. Each bag spawns directly in front of you on screen, but the different colors of the bag determine the life that it has. Brown being the weakest, white being medium, and black having the most health. The other boxing minigame is one where Matt throws tennis balls at you, and you have to dodge as many as you can in a given amount of time. The idea here is to help you to react to punches from your opponent in a real match. Yeah, I could go on and on about each minigame and what they're meant to teach you, but that's gonna take too much time. I just want you to know that pretty much they're all really fun. They act like little arcade modes of the main sports, and you can even work toward a medal.
You earned a silver medal.
And I think that's where the design comes in, the medal system. Depending on how well you perform, the game awards you either a bronze, silver, gold, or a platinum medal. And this kind of follows some similar design philosophies to arcade games, playing games with simple but addictive ideas that reward you the further and further you progress.
You earned a bronze medal.
Of course, the highest I ever got was silver, but to be fair, they do get increasingly difficult. Also, the game awards consistent players with Pro Mode. Essentially, it's a level up system. Each time you win when playing a sport against the CPU, you earn points, and the CPUs gradually get tougher. Once you cross the 1,000 point threshold, you unlock Pro Mode, which is pretty much just bragging rights. The final mode I want to talk about in this game is the Fitness Age. Basically, you do a collection of minigames and try to do your best. The game uses some secret hidden algorithm to determine the age at what you're performing at. The developers had mentioned that they wanted to get you to play this game every day, so I think this was their attempt at encouraging it. However, I never saw it as anything to take too seriously. In fact, when I was a kid, I would do it once a week for a couple of months, just to confirm that I was still performing at an 87-year-old's level. But again, this is where we started to see Nintendo's shift to a more casual audience, using the Wii as more of a lifestyle product rather than a gaming console purely. The minigames, the Pro Mode, and the Fitness Age were all methods of encouraging players to keep coming back consistently. I think the minigames were the most effective because, well, they were actually fun, and probably the Fitness Age being the weakest since it is just a collection of the minigames with a number at the end. Either way, I would say Wii Sports did have a decent level of replayability. So, here we are, 14 years later. During that time, Wii Sports got a sequel being Wii Sports Resort, and sort of a remake being Wii Sports Club on the Wii U. Both of these games took what Wii Sports had and built upon it, but they were never quite as popular as Wii Sports, partially because you had to have extra things. For example, for Wii Sports Resort, you had to have the Wii Motion Plus, and for Wii Sports Club, well, you had to have a Wii U, which, let's be honest, it didn't really sell that well. I think the decision to package in Wii Sports with the Wii was like one of the greatest ideas ever, because let's just say even one family had it. Well, the whole family came over for Christmas, and everyone would take turns playing it, having a good time, so everyone else would, go back home after the holidays, and they'd be like, wow, I want a Wii now. That game was so fun. And Wii Sports really sold the idea of the Wii because it was such a unique experience. It gave people a taste of what Wii games could be like on the console. The simple controls and focus on multiplayer made it a staple in pop culture in the mid 2000s. Everyone was talking about it, everyone was playing it. It was even on news shows, everyone had a Wii at their house. I really think it helped catapult the Wii to be one of the best selling consoles of all time. That's pretty impressive since it was technically a new IP. It wasn't Mario or Zelda or Animal Crossing. Clearly, 14 years later, people aren't playing it as much, only people looking for a nostalgia trip or people doing speedruns of it. All the Wii and Wii Sports sort of faded into obscurity as the casual audience focused on the next thing, that being smartphones, so I feel like no one really had the time to appreciate the design of it. However, every now and then you'll see the occasional callback to it, for example, memes being a very big part of that. Matt, the literal Wii Sports god, and people using the opening theme and edits. And there was that one Vine with the girl tumbling and she was the bowling ball. But anyway, with that being said, I hope this video helped you realize some design aspects of Wii Sports and sort of why it made the Wii such a successful launch and why it made it such a popular console overall. I do think Wii Sports is a little underappreciated, but that's what I'm making this video for. Anyway, thanks for watching, dog bless you, and I hope you have a good one. Hey guys, real quick, I just want to say thank you for watching the video. This is the first of many of my sort of analytical videos, so please be patient while I learn how to edit, learn how to record more efficiently. But yeah, again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you subscribe if you happen to like this video. I'm going to be putting out more videos similar to it in the future. My upload schedule currently is I plan to do one of these analytical videos once a month, and throughout the other weeks I'll just upload kind of like regular gameplay videos. So yeah, stay tuned for that.